What is going on, people? This is Adaptation, and today I'm going to be having a conversation on books to TV inspired by an upcoming Netflix series. And I got to thank my buddy over here, Hio, for bringing this to my attention. So, what is the book that's about to be turned into a Netflix series that you want to talk about today?
Well, the name of the book and the name of the TV show is Altered Carbon, which so far, I haven't finished the book, let's be clear about that. But so far, there's been like 2 title bomb drops in the book, and I still don't know what Altered Carbon fucking means.
Okay, so can you at least tell us what it's about?
Yeah, absolutely. So, on the cover of the book that I have, you see this Asian man who has facial hair, and I'm very surprised because Asian men don't really grow facial hair. They can't. It grows everywhere else but on their face. So he's a specially trained soldier called Envoy, or at least he's an ex-envoy. Something happens, and he's kind of hanging out in, prison. And some rich motherfucker from California hires him as a detective to investigate his homicide because the rich guy was killed, but immortality is just on a screen. So he's not dead, and he wants ex-envoy Takeshi Kovash to investigate his murder.
So when you say immortality just on a screen, what do you mean? We were talking about this earlier, and it reminded me of Futurama, but can you elaborate?
You know what? It also reminds me of Futurama. A lot of this shit reminds me of Futurama, Full Metal Alchemist, and I Know Kusumi. I see a lot of that in here, because I think this guy's basically Roy Mustang. Take Roy Mustang out of FMA and put him in a cyberpunk world, and you've got Takeshi. You got Takeshi.
I'd watch that.
I would if they kept him in his Asian body.
So
I'm still watching it.
So what do they do? In Futurama, they mostly were talking about robots and how
my shiny metal ass.
And how their system, basically their AI, can be transferred from one body to another, so they'll never die. So according to you,
they're doing the same thing, but instead of AI, because you're an actual person, everything you are, your personalities, your likes, your dislikes, your soul, quote unquote, is in something like an SD card. In the book, they call it a stack, but for us back here in 2018, it's a micro SD card. And it's inserted in the space of your spine. And when you die, they take that out and they put it into a new body. So it's like you went to sleep and woke up and you were different. That's it. That's what I mean by a blip on a screen. It's a glitch. Your death is a glitch.
So it's just a quick switcheroo after you shut down and...
Oh yeah, your death is still painful. I mean, this motherfucker got shot in the chest. That's how he died.
Would you want to have that ability?
You know what? I would, because it's not complete immortality where I can never die. I can live for as long as I want to, and when I feel like dying, I can just destroy my own stack. Or I can leave it to my lawyer to set it on fire, which is apparently the only way in the book you can destroy someone's stack is pretty much to burn the fuck out of it. Okay.
So I saw you reading this book during our other recording a few nights ago, and it seems pretty interesting. But what got you? What hooked you in?
All right, initially because it was going to be on Netflix, and first of all, it's cyberpunk, and I've been doing a lot of research on cyberpunk.
Yeah.
But I haven't actually read any of the novels. I've been looking at cyberpunk artwork, I've been looking at definitions of it, but I was like, you know what, I actually want to read it. And since this was becoming a show, I'm like, with Game of Thrones, I tried reading it and couldn't get past chapter 1 back in 2011. I was like, with this...
But yeah, you got me into the show.
Yeah, I got into the show, but I couldn't read past chapter 1 in the book series. So I'm like, I'm going to do that. I'm going to try to read it, see if it's better than Game of Thrones, and then watch it and see what happens. Plus, I'm like... I'm interested in cyberpunk, and cyberpunk has a lot of noir into it, which I don't like. This so far isn't noirish at all, which, yay.
You don't like noir detective stories?
I don't.
Why?
Because, first of all, noir is depressing. Secondly, you're not the detective, you have nothing to do with the case, and you're investigating. That's what noir is, and I'm like... It's just depressing to me. I don't want to watch it.
All right. Different strokes for different folks.
Noir is depressing. And the fact that something futuristic has something so old in it, I think is useless. It's a nice combination, but we don't need noir. And Altered Carbon has proven to me we don't need noir in cyberpunk. Take that shit the fuck out.
Okay. All right. So how at this point in the recording, how far are you in the book?
Let's find out. I think I'm on chapter what? Alright, let me see. I'm on chapter 22. There's like 48 chapters, I think, so I'm halfway through it.
But are you looking forward to the Netflix adaptation?
Based on the trailer we just saw, I want to say no now. Damn.
It's funny because you walked in here and you told me you wanted to do this, and you had already seen the first trailer. We just watched the second one, and you
the first
changed
trailer.
your mind?
The first trailer doesn't show you any of the actors. The first trailer is literally a commercial that would be in their world. It's advertising the new body you could own, which are called
like
sleeves.
This is a real commercial.
Yeah, that's what it was. In the book, they're called sleeves when you get a new body. It was a sleeve commercial for the company that makes it. And I was like, that's cool. The second trailer shows you the actors, and I have to say, I'm already disappointed by the casting of what I've seen. Mm-hmm. They make Riker a bit too attractive, because in the book they say he's not that good looking. I mean, Takeshi...
But wait a minute. Yeah. What is good looking but a matter of, of preference?
Well, here we go. They specifically say in the book that he's not a very attractive looking guy. Uh-huh. But here in the trailer, you can see the one who's playing him, the actor, is better looking than what he's described in the book.
Okay.
People had the same complaint about Jorah from Game of Thrones, because in the book he's kind of like this mammoth, like really beast dude, and his face is kind of gnarled, like his nose has been broken a couple of times. Mm-hmm. And I've heard people complain, say that the actor that they got to portray Jorah is too pretty to be Jorah.
Is it that they just did because of what we picture in our heads versus what's actually on screen?
It's because they want people to watch it, and no one's gonna watch it if they think the actors are kind of eh.
But what if the actor can act?
That's also true.
I'm just saying, like, think about it. Like, he may not look the way you thought. You know what I'm saying? It's our expectations versus reality. But what if the dude is the best actor in the cast? Then what?
Oh, then that completely... Then that's one good reason to watch the show.
It's just like... All right, well, it's not exactly like this, but remember when they had done a Harry Potter play... And they turned Hermione from what we see in the movies, to a black woman, and people were all up in arms about that. And then J.K. Rowling went ahead and said, "I never said she was black. She just described certain features, and then people just made their own assumptions. And because of the movies, and because they're so deep within a lot of fans' consciousness, whether you like the movies or not, they got upset." Which is understandable, but at the same time, it's up to interpretation.
Okay. You got me there. But what disappointed me about the second trailer is James Purefoy. If you don't know who he was in I forgot who did it, but they did like a little mini series called Camelot. He was in that. Mm. And he was in the HBO's TV show Rome, which was kind of competing with Spartacus at the time. Spartacus is a much better show, trust me. But he was Brutus. No, he was Mark Anthony, not Brutus, my mistake. He was Mark Anthony. I do like James Purefoy, but James Purefoy as Lawrence Bancroft. Lawrence Bancroft is a native to San Francisco, California. Why the fuck does he have a British accent? I'm really specific about voices.
Yeah.
Because voices is something I find, probably the only thing I find attractive about people or their voice. So this bothers me that they're going to take an American character and purposely make him British for no reason.
But
for like no reason at all. Just make him British.
But
what's wrong with an American actor?
Nothing.
I like James Purefoy. There's nothing against him, but god damn it, can you at least try to have an American accent?
Okay, so I have a question.
Yeah.
This is a series of books.
I think there's 3, yeah.
So how do you know they're not just combining different plot threads of the 3?
Because would that make sense?
They've done it before.
Yeah, but in this type of world, you kind of need explanation. Or else it's going to be... Nothing will make sense. It won't be consistent.
Well, hopefully they do explain it when the series comes out, because it's not coming out till next month.
Yeah, February 2nd it gets released.
We're still in early January. So... we're definitely going to have to do a follow-up discussion to this when the show actually comes out. We're going to do a first impressions on the show. I don't know how long the show is going to be. It's
a mini-series, so it can't be that long.
So mini-series can be anywhere between 6 to me, a mini-series is anywhere between like 6 to 8 episodes. You know?
You know what? I feel like they're doing the same thing like they're doing with Castlevania. They're just gonna like release a miniseries to see how it does, and then maybe it might get a second season. Mm-hmm. I think that's just what they're doing. I could be wrong.
Well, it makes sense. They could be testing the waters.
Yeah. Because, the Sci-Fi Channel hasn't done anything science fiction in quite a while, and no one is doing anything cyberpunk except for, Blade. The second part, the Blade Runner, which I hear was awful, did not make back the money at the box office.
Well, I hear mixed reviews about the second Blade Runner. I hear that it's one of those movies that you like or you hate. You know
it definitely didn't make the money back. That's for damn sure.
And just because it didn't make the money back does not mean it's good. Like for example, and this is just my personal preference, and I've said this before on my channel. I have never been a Michael Bay Transformers fan. I'm
not a Transformers fan, period.
And my thing is from TV to movies, I understand that you have to take certain liberties.
You don't have to.
With certain certain things don't work on screen as well as they do in books. And that's the thing about books. Books, your imagination is the unless there's pictures, your imagination
manga
is exactly. And even that's another perfect example, which we could probably do another video on.
Fullmetal Alchemist,
and more, or another podcast on. Now, I'm looking forward to the Fullmetal Alchemist live action.
Actually, I hear it's good.
Even though I've said that there have been times where I've tortured myself watching live action adaptations of things, and I understand that not everything that you see in the manga or the comic or the book can be done the same way it's done on screen, because when you're adapting one medium to another, it's different. Now, certain things don't have to be changed. Like, for example, we get all up in arms about ethnicities, but
Rose from Fullmetal Alchemist, Casca from Berserk. Oh my god!
Mm-hmm. But
I was up in arms about Casca.
But while those are legitimate, legitimate
concerns,
exactly concerns. If the show is good or the movie is good, right? Like for example, Death Note.
All right, I didn't see the American Death Note. I only saw.
You're not missing a thing, and that's
what I hear.
And that's just my own personal opinion. I did a review of it back in the summer.
I've asked a lot of people who have seen it, and they all tell me the same thing. You're not missing anything. Don't watch it.
You're not. Honestly, you're not. Now, see, I had no problem with the fact that they were doing an American adaptation. My whole thing was there was already 2 other adaptations, Korean and Japanese. And
we need an American,
and we had it, and we had the anime, and the manga's been doing great since it came out, and it's just we didn't need it. We did not need this. But I watched the show, and I watched the movie, and I tried to be as objective as I could. But the acting was bad. The story itself was just like a mess. You know what I'm saying? It was. They made it into while it was a suspenseful drama before, they just turned it into a melodrama with murder. And that's just my personal opinion.
You know what? I read an article about that where Japanese fans were complaining about the story.
Yeah, the story was just, it was like, to me, it was like Final Destination with Shinigami. Like you try to, and only one Shinigami's ever shown. Like,
really?
That's it.
What an apple.
He's shown. He's in the shadow most of the time. He's not really, but some people like it, and I understand. Or another. Well, we mentioned Harry Potter, but when it comes to comic books nowadays. Not everything that you see in comic books can be adapted into
other mediums.
Into other mediums, whether it be TV or otherwise, because some things in the comic book are so fantastic and so hard to and so hard to believe. You got to be imaginative to come up with this stuff.
I'm gonna digress for a moment, and since you mentioned Shinigami, I have to say I learned how to say I have an apple in 2 different languages. You want to hear them?
Yeah.
In Japanese, if you want to say I have an apple, you say Ringo wo mottemasu. And in German, if you want to say I have an apple, you say Ich habe eine Apfel. So there you go. Learn something. Anyway, we're getting way off topic because now it's about Death Note.
See, knowledge is power. All right, knowledge is power. I don't know if I'm ever gonna have to use that knowledge, but it's good to know.
All right, so one of my concerns about this is, like I said, the book is really diverse. Like, Bancroft's lawyer, Miss Prescott, is a black woman. There's Asian characters. There are African American characters. There's kind of a lack of Hispanic characters for a story that's set in California, which bothers me. Mm-hmm. And then I remember Richard K. Morgan is English. He's from England. And whether he's been to California or actually know a goddamn thing about California, I don't know. There's, like I said, there's actually Native American characters. Because he calls them Mohicans. And I'm like, I'm not sure if it's just because they have Mohawks, which is from a completely different tribe. But I'm not expecting a British person to know that. Or if they're actually Native Americans. But I, A, congratulate him for trying. Mm-hmm. I, B, want to say if they are, you should know Mohicans come from New York and not California. Not saying they couldn't have moved to San Francisco. But in case you didn't know, Mr. Morgan, Mohicans come from, they're part of the Iroquois Nation. That's upstate New York, bro. It's not California. But thank you for trying. And, like I said, it's mentioned that my favorite character, the detective, Kristen Ortega, is Mohican. She's short, she has short hair, she has like this really sarcastic but bubbly kind of personality. She's a chain smoker. I don't like Takeshi. Takeshi's a boring motherfucker. Let me tell you.
What makes him boring?
Alright, he was a special ops soldier, right?
Yeah.
Now he's been killed, he's been brought back, he's being forced to be a detective. This motherfucker is not a detective. He's already failed detective work. In a homicide case, what do? The first people you investigate are the friends and family, right? Mm-hmm. What does he do? He barely talks to the guy's wife. The guy has 61 kids. Talks to none of them.
61 kids?
He's 300 years old.
Oh, okay.
And he's been married to the same woman for about 250 years. They have 61 kids. Because... Plus, they can also change their bodies.
What the...
Exactly, I mean...
Okay, I'm just loving I'm just loving the fact that this is so imaginative, but that's kind of ridiculous at the same time.
Yeah, he has like 20-something sons, 30-something daughters. And instead of investigating, his friends and family, which I thought he would do, he's just like, shot in the dark, dude. Does anyone threaten you? And he's like, well, yeah, people threaten me because I'm rich and powerful and they're jealous. And people hate that. He's like, yeah, talk it up with my lawyers. I don't read the death threats. I get. Which I didn't explain how they changed their bodies.
How do they?
So I explained about the stacks, which are like memory cards, right? Mm-hmm. So later in the story, it's explained that when someone goes to prison, their prison sentence is basically they take out your stack or your memory card and they put it in literally a storage facility. Your body, however, is up for rent. And someone can either buy your human body or rent it. Which is how... Asian Japanese Takeshi ends up in a white guy's body because that white guy, A, went to jail and he's doing, his stack is in storage for the next 200 years. Mm-hmm. So his body is up for grabs. And Mr. Bancroft outbidded the original person who was paying mortgage to keep his body in storage to be a dick. He did it purposely to be an asshole, which I thought was fantastic. And even Takeshi's like, isn't that kind of... He's like, you did this for... He's like, isn't it kind of childish? He's like, hey, all vengeance is childish. Don't judge me. I thought that was great. Because now we find out why he's in a white guy's body and like... Oh yeah. Something I like about this book that I complain about a lot of things I read is predictability. I absolutely fucking hate it. If I can guess what's going to happen at the end or... If I can guess in the first or second chapter a secret that's revealed, like in chapter 50, you've already failed as a writer, go fucking kill yourself.
I think that happens a lot.
It does happen a lot.
We have...
I overthink things and I figure it out.
I do the same thing, you know what I mean? Like, we read a lot, I read a lot of manga, I watch a lot of TV, so a lot of things I can tell.
Yeah, you just know when it's going to happen.
But if you stay, but if you're one of those rare cases where... you seriously did not see anything coming. Like, if I don't see anything coming and I'm really surprised, I'm like, oh my goodness.
That's what this has done so far is, like, because I never read Cyberpunk before and I'm not quite sure how Cyberpunk handles anything. Yeah. I didn't know. I wasn't expecting anything. So I can't predict anything. Everything has been a surprise, which has been a joy. Except for one event. I was like, sooner or later, Takeshi is going to fuck Mr. Bancroft's wife. And of course he does, because she seduces him. Because the body she's in apparently emits this drug called Merch 9, which is like an aphrodisiac.
So it's a pheromone?
Yeah.
Really?
Yes. And apparently it can make any guy fuck her except her husband. Ha! Imagine the self-esteem that's gotta come out of that.
As soon as you said that,
I was like,
I kind of felt bad for her for a second. Like,
because here's my thing. I'm like, the moment he met Miriam Bancroft, I'm like, he's gonna fuck this dude's wife sooner or later. And of course I'm right. I'm like, of course you're gonna fuck his wife. But you know what? He doesn't care. Mr. Bancroft, his first name is Lawrence, which is weird to me.
what, Lawrence?
No, it's not Lawrence. It's Laurens.
Oh, the way it's spelled.
Yeah, it's Lawrence.
Lawrence.
Yeah,
Okay,
Lawrence.
gotcha,
That's weird.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's really weird to me. I've never heard that.
That sounds like a last name to me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Polo Ralph Lawrence.
Yeah.
Exactly. So Lawrence doesn't care if his wife is fucking another chick. I mean, another dude. He doesn't care. And I'm like, wow, she purposely made sure that her new body had these pheromones and it can attract any guy except her husband. I'm like, wouldn't that crush your self-esteem?
Heck yeah, which is why she's doing it. That's exactly why she's doing it. Her self-esteem is that low. She's like, I'm right here. Why do you need other people? I'm right here. Then she gets a body that emits the pheromone and he's unaffected.
Yeah.
Wow. While I don't condone the cheating in any way, I feel bad for her.
So after fucking his wife, he asks the guy, he's invited to his house again because he went through all this bullshit trying to find clues for this case. Cost Mr. Lawrence a ton of money because this dude fucks up so many different buildings following one lead. Turns out to be a bust. Or maybe not. I don't know. And in the morning, his wife invites them out to a fishing boat because some friends of them from the UN, the United Nations, are like, oh, we're going out on the boat. Do you want to come? He's like, yeah, I'll be there in a minute. Takeshi and I are talking. Which they call him by his last name, Kovash. I'm just going to call him Takeshi.
Okay.
And Takeshi's watching his wife walk away after he's already fucked her. And he's like, out of curiosity, bro. He's like, I just got to know. He's like, why are you not fucking your wife? And he's like, do you know what happens after you've been married for 250 years? And if you can make it past the boredom and all that? He's like, basically his explanation comes down is that he has too much respect for her. Which was weird as fuck.
But wait a minute, hold up.
Yes.
All right, let me just think.
Oh my god, I will read that out loud.
I have never been married before.
Me neither.
I have never heard of that before.
Me neither.
I have heard that from people that are married that it does get stale after a while when you've been married for a long time. So that I can kind of understand. But to tell me that you have respect for her and yet you go out and do things with other women, isn't that disrespectful? I'm just saying, wouldn't it be more respectful for you if you're going to stay with this person? You know.
Well, he has stayed with her for 250 fucking years.
Like, I get it. Some people, like, there are couples out there that don't do that stuff anymore, and they're still married, and they still love each other. But after a while, it does get that way. But and I know this is a fictional character, but at the same time, like, dude. Really?
That was my thing. I was like, really? That's the best answer you got? Is kind of like I think the most
respectful thing you would do is just be honest with her and get divorced. Don't. Well,
here's my thing: is he's part of the 1%, right? He's rich as fuck. If he divorces her, she's probably gonna take half his shit. And they have 61 kids, so their family is like split down the line. Who do you choose, your mom or your dad? Understand? It's the father's company. Maybe he doesn't want to put
He screwed over himself there.
Yeah, maybe he doesn't want to put his kids or grandkids through that bullshit, or maybe he's afraid of his wife or something.
So you just go out and bang every other woman? Like,
that's kind of it.
Like, wait, what do you...
I'm going to try to find the paragraph and read it out loud. To be fair, I'm really bad at reading out loud, so
am I.
So bear with me. I have to find it. Oh, here we go. I found it. Alright, it's page 150 for those who just want to find the book in a bookstore and, like, read it for yourself. Chapter 16. Alrighty. Tell me something, Bancroft, I said with my eyes still on the receding figure. No disrespect intended, but why does someone who's married to her, who's chosen to stay married, spend his time in, quote, purchase sexual release? I turned casually back and found him watching me without expression. He said nothing for several seconds, and when he spoke, his voice was carefully bland. Have you ever come in a woman's face, Kovash? Culture shock is something they teach you to lock down very early on in the corps. Because remember, he was a soldier, and it's called the Envoy Corps. In the corpse. But just occasionally a blast gets through the armor and the reality around you feels like a jigsaw that won't quite fit together. I barely chopped off my stare before it got started. This man, older than the entire human history of my planet, was asking me this question. It was as if he asked me if I ever played with water pistols. Yes, it happens if a woman you paid. Well, sometimes, not especially. Now, it's interesting to note that when he was fucking Mr. Bancroft's wife, he did come in her face. So then to have her husband ask him this question, you understand his problem.
Okay,
I remembered his wife's abandoned laughter as I exploded into and around her mouth, cum trickling down over her knuckles like foam from a popped champagne bottle. Don't you just love books? I don't remember. It's not a special fetish of mine, and nor of mine, the man in front of me snapped, with rather too much emphasis. I chose it merely as an example. There are things, desires, and all of us that are better suppressed, or at least they cannot be expressed in a civilized context. I'd hardly counterpose civilization with spilling semen. And then this dude gets really philosophical about it. For no reason. You come from another place, Bancroft said broodingly, a brash, young colonial culture. You can have no concept of how the centuries of tradition have molded us here on Earth. The young of spirit, the adventurous, all left on the ships in droves. They were encouraged to leave. Those who stayed were the stolid, the obedient, the limited. I watched it happen. At the time, I was glad because it made carving out an empire so much easier. Now I wonder if it was worth the price we paid. Culture fell on itself, grappled with the norms to live by, settled for the old and familiar, rigid morality, rigid law. The UN declarations fossilized into global conformity. So basically, conservative became the law of the entire planet Earth. There was he gestured, a sort of supercultural straitjacket with an inherent fear of what might be born from the colonies. The protectorate arose while the ships were still in flight. When the first of them made planetfall, their stored peoples woken to prepared tyranny. You talk as if you stood outside it. With this much vision, you still can't fight your way free? Bancroft smiled thinly. Culture is like a smog. To live within it, you must breathe some of it in and inevitably be contaminated. In any case, what does free mean in this context? Free to spill semen on my wife's face and breasts? Free to have her masturbate in front of me to share the use of her flesh with other men and women? 250 years is a long time, Mr. Kovash. Time enough for a long list of dirty, degrading fantasies to infest in the mind and titillate the hormones of each fresh sleeve you wear, while all the time your finer feelings grow purer and more ratified. Do you have any concept of what happens to emotional bonds over such a period? The hell if I know. That's not in the book, that's just me. I opened my mouth, but he held up his hand for silence and I let him have it. It's not every day you get to hear the outpourings of a soul centuries old, and Bancroft was in full flow. No, he answered his own question. How could you? Just as your culture is too shallow to appreciate what it is to live on Earth, your life experience cannot possibly encompass what it is to love the same person for 250 years. In the end, if you endure, if you beat the traps of boredom and complacency, in the end, what you are left with is not love. It's almost veneration. Now, I'm pretty sure I knew what the word veneration was, but it nagged me and I had to look it up, and I was right. Veneration means respect. So here's his thing, is he kind of respects his wife too much. So he kind of respects his wife. Like, he doesn't love her anymore, but he respects her.
But he respects her as a person. Yeah. You know, this is why...
Okay,
this is why I would never want to become immortal. Like, this right here... No, it has way too many drawbacks. Think about it. If you're immortal and everyone else around you, because this only happens to people that can afford this.
And he can afford it.
And he can afford it. So if you're immortal but the people around you are not, you're outliving everyone. You're
Yeah.
going to be incredibly lonely, incredibly depressed after a
Yeah,
while.
but his kids and his wife are just the same. He's not lonely or depressed.
Nah, he's not going to be. But I know if I was in his shoes, I would opt out.
So he
honestly.
continues, how then to match that respect, that veneration with the sordid desires of whatever flesh you are wearing at the time? I tell you, you cannot. So instead you vent yourself on prostitutes? The thin smile returned. I am not proud of myself, Mr. Kovash, but you do not live this long without accepting yourself in every fact, however distasteful. The women are there, they satisfy a market need, they are recompensed accordingly, and in this way I purge myself. Does your wife know this? Of course, and has for a very considerable time. Omo, who's his African American lawyer, Omo, informs me that you are already aware of the facts regarding Layla Begin, I don't know how to pronounce her last name.
All right.
Miriam has calmed down a lot since then. I'm sure she has adventures of her own. So he's sure his wife is fucking someone else. I mean, how could she not be if her husband's not doing it? So he's like, how sure? Because remember, he fucked this dude's wife. And he's like, how sure are you that your wife cheats on you too? In case, he doesn't want to die over this shit. And you probably shouldn't have fucked his wife.
No.
Bancroft made an irritated gesture. Is this relevant? I don't have my wife monitored. Is that what you mean? But I know her. She has her appetites to contend with, just as I do. And this doesn't bother you? Mr. Kovash, I am many things, but I'm not a hypocrite. It is the flesh, nothing more. Miriam and I understand this. And now, since this line of questioning doesn't seem to be leading anywhere, can we please get back on track? In the absence of any guilt on the part of Elliot, what else do you have? I'm going to end there. I love this part of the book because he's kind of just really straightforward about it. Have you ever come in someone's face?
like that is incredibly honest and straightforward.
Word.
I have to give it up to the writer for that, just for that speech.
But then he gets really philosophical about it. I'm like, what does Earth traditions have to do with you fucking your wife?
I don't know. But I am curious to see how
this conversation needs to be in the show.
How that conversation is going to be acted out, because
it needs to be there. It's just hilarious.
It's you said it was going to be a mini series, word? Yeah. So we don't know how far they're going to get for the first season.
Oh my god, they should get past that part, because that's when he actually starts, and doing his damn job and investigate. This
is also true, but we also know from experience that adaptations might include scenes that were not in the original source.
I know. So, that's why I hate them.
So this is why I am I'm curious, because before I had no idea about this show even coming out or even existing.
Or the book
existing until you came over a few nights ago.
So the book was written in 2002, and I'm just now hearing about it. I'm like, I've been to Barnes & Noble 1,000 times in 2002. I never saw this there.
Yeah, but you weren't interested in cyberpunk in 2002.
That's true, but I always check the science and fantasy section. I still don't recall seeing this.
It probably just was not on your radar.
Probably. I probably was like, Altered Carbon or meh.
See, it was probably just wasn't on your radar.
You'd think with an Asian guy on the cover, I'd be all over this shit. An Asian guy on the cover, I would have bought this like in a heartbeat. I don't care what it was about.
But I think, you know what? I think this could be another thing. We could talk. Even though people have talked about book to movie to TV adaptations before, I don't think I've ever explored it this in depth. You know what I mean?
Have you actually read any of the books that became TV or movies?
A lot of anime, yeah.
Well, not for anime.
And besides that, I was a big Harry Potter fan. Mm-hmm. But up until the first few movies came out, because I learned about Harry Potter in school, and then I would read, then I read the books as they came out. But after the movies were like so good to me, I decided to just focus on the movies for a while. And another one would probably be let me think.
What? Order of the Phoenix, the movie was but the book was so much better because they couldn't add any of that shit to the movie, and I was so disappointed. And the same with the last two movies. Like, my favorite scene from the book never got added to the last movie, and that upset me. Because I wanted that scene in there so badly, and it just didn't make the cut.
Yeah. I can't really think offhand.
Fuck, I want this scene in the TV series because that's just hilarious.
Yeah.
That's a hilarious ass conversation.
As a kid, I had a lot of Goosebumps books.
Oh yeah, me too.
And I could not tell you if, like, when watching the show, if those books were, if the show adaptation was accurate to the books or not.
They were for the most part.
As far as today, I have not read a book that got turned into a series, or that I even knew was a series up until the other way. Like I never got into what you know what, my mom check this out. My mom introduced myself and a few other people to a book called The Shack. Now, I had not read The Shack. It's a very faith-based book, and it got turned into a movie. As far as I know, that was adapted pretty well. Have not seen the movie myself. I'm just going from my mom's reaction to it. As of right now, my concerns usually, like, because I understand that books in TV and movies, they're all different beasts. You have to do different things with them.
No, you don't.
Yeah, no.
That's kind of where I'm.
Well, you can't do. Here's the thing: you can't do everything that was in one thing and then have it translated to another, because sometimes you have things like budget restraints. You have also.
Listen, if budget restraints is a thing, then you take the best of what was in it and you bring it to life. Because here's my thing. If you're going to transfer one media to the another, as a fan, I want the same exact media, just in a different form. Like, let's say this. Prince of Persia, alright. It was a video game, very loved video game. I had all three. I never finished the third game. Mm-hmm. Awful fucking movie. And here's the thing, if it was going to be a movie, I want the game just with actual people. Don't give me any of this extra bullshit. Don't change the story. I want the story to remain the same. I just want to see it with people and not animation. You don't have to do anything different. Give me what the fuck it was. Now
here's another thing about that. With Prince of Persia, the very first Prince of Persia had a very simplistic story.
Yeah, the original, but I'm talking about Ubisoft.
And then later on, they brought it into modern age and gave it and spruced it up and gave it another story. Now you think with
I just use that as an example because I couldn't think of anything else.
Well, no, that's a good example. That's a good example.
That horrible ass movie.
I mean, with video games to movies, which I've talked about many times on this channel.
Maybe I should use like anime.
Anime's a little easier.
I just want like my anime with people. I don't want you to change the story. I don't want you to add a character. I don't want you to minus a character. I just want you to give me the same exact shit I've already seen with actual people. That's it.
But I have a question. If you want a shot for shot adaptation of something that you've already seen, then
what's the point?
Then what's the point?
Because I want to see the actors, because the actors bring something different. Actors and voice actors, yes, they're both acting, but they bring something different. Maybe the actors are better, maybe the live action actors are worse. There's something different, and it's like watching plays, like seeing the animated movie of Aladdin and then going to Broadway and seeing the play Aladdin. See, why would you do that? It's the same exact thing, shot for shot, but there's a difference.
Actually, I have seen different adaptations of Aladdin, and here's the thing. There are some things that they keep, and there are some things that they did not put in the movie that they put in the that they put into the stage production. Like they might have another song added in, like which according to what I've heard they do. They might have other scenes added in to make it flow more. So that's what that comes down to. I think. With anime to TV or to movies, it's a little easier. Not all the time, but it's a little easier. Another example of something that's probably a pretty decent adaptation for something that you've already seen, Nana.
Yeah, Nana.
Right.
And the movie is almost shot for shot like the manga and the anime, and that doesn't take away the fact that I've read some of the manga. I've seen the anime and saw the live action.
But you didn't want to see the live action at first.
I didn't at first, and I'm still upset that they didn't dye Noble's hair blonde. Listen, Listen, they have little convenience stores in Japan dedicated to hair care product. They could have ran to any store, picked up a bottle of dye for like $10, and dyed that kid's hair fucking blonde. It's not hard.
It doesn't look natural. It'll just look like a wig.
Well, neither did Shin's. I mean, Shin's hair wasn't as blue as it is in the anime, but they still dyed it. Fuck.
But he's a cartoon. That's different.
No, I mean in the live action.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, one version versus another looks better.
You don't think Asian guys look good with blonde hair? Have you seen Gat?
While I enjoy Gat's music, I don't pay attention to guys like that. So you're asking the wrong guy.
Now I have to show you pictures of Asian guys with blonde hair.
Why? Why?
Because they don't look like wigs.
I'm just saying, probably in the movie, it'll probably look one way versus another. How do we know that they didn't try? You know? It's you know, it's just a matter of what it looks like, especially on camera, you know? But, hey, I'd say whatever you're into, cool. We're looking, now I can say with confidence that I'm looking forward to this miniseries just to see what you see. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Neil. Did I mention the diversity thing? I'm not sure if I did.
You did.
It's a really diverse book with different races, and if everyone is fucking whitewashed, Netflix, you're getting a very angry, hate-filled letter from me.
Okay.
Because there's no reason to adapt something with this diversity, then just have all the characters be white. For anyone out there listening, if you're 250 years old, do you think you'd have too much respect for your wife to fuck her? I mean, is it really just this dude in this book, or is that a thing?
I seriously can't believe
that's his logic.
Like, that was logic. That sounds so backwards.
That doesn't make sense.
That sounds so backwards. Just say you don't.
I don't love her.
You don't love her anymore. And you don't want to get, and you don't want to get a divorce because of the logistics and all that other crap. Okay, but that to me sounds more disrespectful than anything. Especially
when she goes through like she goes and gets a body that emits pheromones that's supposed to be like an aphrodisiac, and it clearly does not work on her husband. I'm like, God damn, that'd be a soul killer for me. I'd be in a room rocking back and forth, crying like, my husband don't love me no more. But you know what? She's not like that at all. Actually, one of the other characters call her a psychopath, and I'm like, holy shit, I kind of see it.
How is she a psycho? What does she do?
Oh my god, should I read that passage? Yes!
Yeah.
Alright, so backstory. When this guy first started using prostitutes, he found this prostitute in Oakland. Red hair, sort of, kind of looks like his wife. And they had their thing, right?
Okay, so we know he has a type.
Yeah, he likes women that kind of look like his wife. That's why I'm thinking that secretly this is kind of a game they play, like this really sick game.
Mm-hmm.
So his wife finds out. Her name is Miriam. They go to like this party, this elaborate party or something. She invites Layla, the prostitute, into the bathroom with her and beats her ass. Beats her badly. Now, Layla was 7 months pregnant and she lost it. And instead of, there was a court case because, that's assault. And her husband paid off all the right people. And then Layla took, settled out of court and ducked out to Brazil. So apparently his wife was, apparently she can fight. Now, things I wanted to see, I wanted to see Takeshi fuck Ortega. And then after finding out why the body he's in, it makes more sense. And I'm like, yay, do it. Don't fuck Miriam. I kind of get it. She's kind of psycho. Ortega is better.
Okay.
Wait, I'm looking for the passage. Where is it? Where is it? Okay, it's after this. After this. Alright, here we go. This is, Takeshi talking to the prostitute Layla, which was apparently when Lawrence started whoring himself to prostitutes. She was the first, and she's from Oakland. Because like I said, the whole story takes place in California, which is why he shouldn't have a British accent. People from California don't naturally have British accents, asshole. Whoever the director is.
What if they gave him
a Californian accent?
Like, what if they gave him another backstory, like he moved from there to the United States?
I'd feel insulted as an American.
Why?
Because it's saying that Americans can't amount to anything.
How?
Okay, so this super rich character is American, right? Made his fortune kind of like on his own, like Scrooge McDuck, right?
Yeah.
But instead of, I don't know, portraying him as an American, we're going to portray him as a British person because only British people can be that rich and successful.
I don't think it's that deep. Honestly,
You think I'm overthinking it?
Maybe, yeah. just a bit.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right, here I am.
Excuse me.
What's all this about the truth? I asked, catching her up. You have been retained to discover who killed Lawrence Bancroft, she said intensely without looking around. You wish to know the truth of what transpired the night he died. Is that not so? You don't think it was suicide then? Do you? I asked first. I saw a faint smile across her lips. No, I don't. Let me guess, you're pinning it on Miriam Bancroft. It's again his wife. Layla, can't say her last name because it's Begin. Begin.
Sounds like...
Begin.
sounds like begging.
Beggin?
Yeah.
God, that's awful. Layla begging. Layla be begging, y'all.
Exactly. No, that's wrong.
Yeah. Stopped and turned on one of her ornate hills. Are you mocking me, Mr. Kovash? There was something in her eyes that drained the irritable amusement out of me on the spot. I shook my head. No, I'm not mocking you, but I'm right, aren't I? Have you met Miriam Bancroft? Briefly, yes. You found her charming, no doubt. Yeah. I did. I thought she was kind of a bitch the moment she appeared. I was like, oh, fuck. I was like, she's a bitch. I like Ortega. Ortega's at least funny. I shrugged evasively. A bit abrasive at times, but generally, yes. Charming would do it. Miriam, seduced him after asking him to stop this investigation, which is why I'm kind of thinking it's her.
Mm-hmm.
Bagan looked at me in the eyes. She is a psychopath, she said seriously. She resumed walking. After a moment, I followed her. Psychopath's not a narrow term anymore. And this kind of scares me when psychopath's not a narrow term. That means humanity has become something worse. I said carefully, I've heard it applied to whole cultures on occasion. It's even been applied to me once or twice. Reality is so flexible these days, it's hard to tell who's disconnected from it and who isn't. You might even say it's a pointless distinction. Mr. Kovash, there was an important note in the woman's voice now. Impatient, not important. Marion Bancroft assaulted me when I was pregnant and murdered my unborn child. She was aware that I was pregnant. She acted with intention. Have you ever been 7 months pregnant? I shook my head. No. That is too bad. It's an experience we should all be required to go through at least once. I don't know if she's serious about that or if that's a joke.
Let's go with the joke.
Kind of hard to legislate. Bagan looked at me sidelong. In that sleeve, you look like a man acquainted with laws, but that's the surface. Are you what you appear, Mr. Kovash? Are you acquainted with laws? Irretrievable laws we're discussing. Are you acquainted with that? I think so, I said more stiffly than I intended. Then you will understand my feelings about Miriam Bancroft. On Earth, cortical stacks are fitted after birth. So people only get like their memory card chips after they're born. So by killing her baby, there's no bringing it back. Where I come from, too. I lost that child. No amount of technology will bring it back. I could tell the rising tide of emotion in Layla Bagan's voice was real or contrived, but I was losing focus. I cut back to the start. That doesn't give Mary Bancroft a motive for killing her husband. Of course it does. Exactly. This dude has been doing it for like hundreds of fucking years. Bagan favored me with a sidelong glance again, and there was another bitter smile on her face. I was not an isolated incident in Lauren Bancroft's life. How do you think he met me? In Oakland, I heard. The smile blossomed into a hard laugh. Very euphemistic. Yes, he certainly met me in Oakland. Met me on what they used to call the meat rack. Not a very classy place. Lawrence needed to degrade Mr. Kovash. That's what made him hard. He's been doing it for decades before me, and I don't see why he would have stopped afterwards. So Miriam decides suddenly that's enough and ventilates him? She's capable of it. I'm sure she is. Bacon's theory was full of holes as a captured Sharian deserter, but I wasn't about to elaborate the details of what I knew to this woman. Now here's at the point I'm like, is he kind of defending her because he fucked her that one time and she offered him the same amount of money to stop the investigation? I'm like, he's kind of just defending her for no reason. Like, she definitely has motive.
So...
And she has access to the gun that he was killed with. Mm-hmm. Which is why everyone's like, yeah, it's kind of just her. Because no one else has access to it but him and his wife.
So if they change some things around for the adaptation...
I don't think it'd be the same story, would it?
I don't know. I'm just thinking.
Okay.
Because just based on what you've read, my expectations, while low, because I really knew nothing about this, I just want to see certain parts of this acted out.
I want to see this acted out.
I definitely want to see it acted out to the point where where I want to see more. Because if it comes to a point where there have been times where I have watched a movie based on something or supposedly based on something, and I go through it and I'm like, okay, I can't see myself watching this again. I honestly can't. I tried. Can't see myself watching this again.
Oh, I got you. That's how I feel about Scarface.
Yeah, but
To continue.
yeah.
You harbor no feelings about Bancroft himself, I suppose, good or bad. That smile again. I was a whore, Mr. Kovash. A good one. A good whore feels what the client wants her to feel. There's no room for anything else. She actually reminds me of another character from a book series I absolutely love saying that. You're telling me you could shut down your feelings just like that? You telling me you can't? She retorted. Alright, what did Lawrence Bancroft want you to feel? She stopped and faced me slowly. I felt uncomfortably, as if I had just slapped her. Her face had gone mask-like with remembrance. Animal abandonment, she said finally. Think about that. This rich dude wants her to feel animal abandonment. What the fuck does that mean?
Well,
He wants to do it like they do in...
like, all right.
On the Discovery Channel.
Animal abandonment. That means he wants her to feel like she's been left out in the rain with no chance of coming back in the house, or like those who, you know. And I'm not saying I've known people who have done this, but there have been reports of people leaving their dogs or cats because they can't afford them anymore, so they're moving. They just leave them, or just like that dog I read about last week that was frozen to death during the storm. Like that.
Okay.
That's what comes to mind when I hear animal abandonment.
All right, animal abandonment, she said finally, and then abject gratitude. And I stopped feeling the both as soon as he stopped paying me. So animal abandonment and abject gratitude. That's what you... So when I read that line the first time, today I read this chapter today during break at work. I was like, animal abandonment, so he wants her to be like wild or crazy. That was the first thing that came to my mind. And then abject gratitude. Then thanking him for the opportunity. I'm like...
He's got a weird fetish.
Maybe this is why he doesn't want to do it with his wife.
Because he's not into this stuff?
You know what? Considering how her sex scene was with Takeshi, I think she'd be more into this stuff.
See, this is why you should have communication in your relationship.
Yeah, I think she'd be more into this kind of shit.
Man, because she sounds like just straight up...
So does he. I'm like, wow, this dude has some demons.
She sounds crazy. He just sounds like he's got abandonment issues, so he wants everybody else to feel the same way. That's what it sounds like. That's what it sounds like to me. He's into some weird stuff.
He really is.
But she might be into some weird stuff. Heck, she got implanted with pheromones.
Yeah.
So how do you not know she's into
this bullshit, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Your logic makes no sense to me, sir.
It didn't make sense to me either. And what do you feel now? Now Layla Biggin looked out to sea, as if testing the temperature of the breeze and sweat was inside her. Now I feel nothing, Mr. Kovash. You agreed to talk to me. You must have had a reason. Biggin made a dismissive gesture. The lieutenant asked me to. Very public-spirited of you. The woman's gaze came back to me. You know what happened after my miscarriage? I heard you were paid off. Yes, unpleasant sounding, isn't it? But that's what happened. I took Bancroft's money and I shut up. It was a lot of money, but I didn't forget where I came from. I still get back to Oakland 2 or 3 times a year. I know the girls who work the rack now. Lieutenant Ortega has a good name there. Many of the girls owe her. You might say I'm paying off some favors. I like that this character comes back to her home in Oakland. She's like, yeah, I was fucking this rich dude. His wife beat me to a pulp. He paid me off. I moved to Brazil, but fuck that. I'm still gonna come home once in a while.
Home is where the heart is.
I really appreciate your character for that. And revenge on Marion Bancroft doesn't come into it. What revenge? Layla laughed, her hard little laugh again. I am giving you information because the lieutenant had asked me to. You won't be able to do anything to Marion Bancroft. She's a meth. She's untouchable. No one's untouchable, not even mess. She looked at me sadly. You're not from here, she said, and it shows. So I'm going to explain what a meth is, because Ortega calls them meths. So they're they're about 300 years old, right?
Yeah.
And they're called Meths, which is short for Methuselah, because Methuselah was like over 900 years old before he died.
Gotcha.
And that's it. It's just a biblical reference.
Gotcha. And that actually fits though. Because if you're living this long, you might as well like I just call you a very old person, but just to sum it up in one word like that.
Yeah, they pretty much just call them Meths. Oh yeah, and they hate Ortega. They hate Ortega with a passion. Because Ortega hates them with a passion. Like, the moment, this was her case before Takeshi, and she hated them the moment she got them because, A, she's kind of prejudiced against the 1%, to be fair, who isn't. And second, she's like, listen, I actually work a real job. I'm a detective, and I get paid nothing. And you're 300 years old, and you could pretty much pay off anyone you want at any time. Fuck you. So she basically came on that case with complete disrespect, and that's why Mr. Bancroft fucked her over with the body he gave to Takeshi, but I'm not going to tell you more about that.
Whew, boy.
Oh, now I kind of want to read that sex scene between him and his wife.
Okay, I think we're gonna leave it.
Why?
I think we're gonna leave it at that.
Why?
Because I'm already interested. I don't need to right now. I don't need to reread a sex scene. You know what I'm saying?
This is why I think this is like a really sick game the husband and wife just play, because they seem like sick fucking people.
Yeah,
they just hide it really
like it
well. They hide it really well, but they seem like some sick fucks who get other people, innocent people, involved in their bullshit and then get them killed because they're bored. That's what I think this is about.
So if that doesn't come across in the show,
then if it doesn't come out, this is my personal opinion, it could not be it at all. I mean, for the most part, Mr. Bancroft he's been okay, but he's also only had like 2 scenes where he actually had dialogue. He was only in 2 scenes, but he seemed like to be a nice guy up until, that where she's like, yeah, he's kind of a sick fuck. Kind of a sick fuck.
Yeah. His
wife, on the other hand, like I said, I didn't like her the moment she appeared. I'm like, she's a bitch. And then she seduced Takeshi, and I'm like, she's more of a bitch. And then she said another guy, hey, did you accept her offer about, and stop investigating this case and just taking the money he was going to pay you anyway? And he's like, you know what? Now I'm interested. Why the fuck does she want to buy me off this case? I'm interested too. I'm like, well, if that's not a symbol of guilt, either she did it, she A, gave the gun to the person who did it, or B, she's protecting the person who did do it.
You got a point.
And this guy's not a fucking detective, so he's not thinking of like a fucking detective. Instead of, either she did it, she's an accomplice, or she's protecting the one who did it for some... Because like I said, it could be one of their kids. This guy never investigated their kids.
Why not?
I don't, because he's not a detective. He's a soldier. Damn, I've seen enough detective shows to know you investigate the people closest to you, friends and family, and he just did not do that. He jumped straight to, well, your husband likes whores. Let's investigate these whores. That's his logic. It makes as much sense as the husband's.
So this book did exactly what it's supposed to do. It hooked you in.
It made it, like I said, the only thing I predicted was he was going to bang that dude's wife, and I was right. Everything else, I want him to bang Ortega because it makes more sense. It does. I won't give it away. I'll tell you when we stop recording if you want me to, why it makes more sense.
Okay. Well, hopefully, how you feel now... reading the book.
I want to get to the end because I really want to know who fucking killed this dude now. I'm like Takeshi. I'm kind of invested in it. I'm like, why is she trying to buy him off this case? That seems really guilty to me.
So, you're invested in the book now, and you're almost done with it.
I'm almost done.
So, by the time we do our first impressions...
I'll be done.
We'll be done with the book, and hopefully I have watched a little bit of the show, and we'll watch together and compare notes. And no, I'm not actually gonna write notes, or I might. I don't know. I have a tendency to do that.
I guarantee you, the sex scene's gonna be in it because why wouldn't it?
It's Netflix. It's Netflix.
Yeah.
There's plenty of sex in Netflix depending on what show you're watching.
Yay!
So I appreciate you bringing this to my attention because now I'm really interested in to see how the show's going to come out, and I might even pick up the book.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Or you could just borrow mine. Shit.
Yeah.
It's free.
Yeah. So we're definitely going to do an impressions video on this, so we're definitely going to talk about it, review it, just compare notes on it, see what we liked about it, what we didn't like about it, and what they could do better. Because you've read the book, I have not, so I'm just going to go.
I'm almost done with the book.
Yeah, so I am just probably going to go in there with a fresh mind, only knowing little bits of detail. Let us know if you've seen, if you've read the book, and if you plan on seeing the show, and if you come back and you've watched the show, let us know what you think of it. With that being said, I am El Detenchi. Big ups to Kyo. Peace, love, and never be normal.
Yes.